Hi guys, so this video is my how to become an English teacher in Korea video. Quite a few people have asked about this, so therefore I'm making the video now for you. So first things first, I would highly recommend you, if you're interested in becoming an English teacher somewhere abroad, I would definitely recommend you decide which country you would like to work in. Obviously that's very important. So do some research online, figure out where you think is a good place for you, and yeah, start finding out what the qualifications are for teaching in that country. So from here forward, I will only speak about teaching in Korea because that is the only experience I have. I would highly recommend that you start this process as early as possible. I would say at least give yourself 6 months until the time that you plan on leaving. For Korea, I can say that the typical intake of teachers is in March and in August. So those are typically the months that they start hiring for, but they start this process way before. So they probably start looking for teachers maybe 3 months, before the start of the school year or whatever semester. So you need to find out what your qualifications are for the country that you want to work in. In South Korea, I can say that generally most programs that I've seen have required that you have at least a bachelor's degree and some sort of teaching credentials. Either a teaching license, just a regular teaching license. Like for me, I'm licensed to teach biology, so I can use my teaching license in order to go over to Korea and teach English. So you either need a teaching license or regular teaching license for something, or a ESL teaching certificate, and I believe that they require 100 hours of these ESL courses or whatever that you have to take in order to get some certificate that say you can teach English. So those are the 2 things you're gonna need, and let me tell you, you're also gonna need some money. Definitely you need to start saving right now because all of this stuff takes money. It takes money to get to Korea, okay? Trust. So I know the ESL courses are probably, I don't know how much they are, but I know they're in the hundreds somewhere. So you're gonna need money if you're not already an education major or minor. You're gonna need money to get that ESL certificate. And then there's tons of fees that come with all the documents and shipping stuff back and forth. That's gonna come along as well. So I would start saving up money and I would start taking these ESL courses, or if you're in school and it's early enough, change your major to education or something. Figure out what you want to teach. But yeah, so those are my pre-recommendations prior to everything in life. My second thing I would highly recommend is that you find yourself a recruiter. I think the best way to go through this is through recruiters because they're very helpful. They let you know everything you need and all that jazz instead of figuring out on your own. So definitely find yourself a recruiter. There's tons and tons and tons of recruiters out there. My advice to you is to just do some Google searches, read some blogs, see what kind of recruiters people recommend. I literally read blogs and watched videos, and I made a list of recruiters that people recommended. So I made a list of recruiters. I have 15 recruiters listed on this paper. So I would make a list of recruiters and just apply to 2 or 3 a day, and make little notes as you're applying. The date you applied to them, the date that they made contact with you, in reference to your application, and just keep little notes about them. How quick are they, with response and stuff. When do you get an interview with them, all that jazz. So like I said, I listed 15 recruiters, but I actually only applied to 8 of them. I was offered 6 interviews, but I actually only interviewed with 4 of the 6 that I was offered, and I was accepted into all 4 of those recruiter companies that I interviewed with, and I actually ended up working with Corvia recruiting. I just really felt very comfortable with my recruiter when we had our interview together, so I just knew okay, this is who I want to work with. So you make a list of recruiters, apply to a few, every day or every other day, however much time you have, And when you find someone that you're comfortable with working with, then you can, you know, continue moving forward with that person. I know some people work with multiple recruiters, maybe some people work with 2 or 3 recruiters at the same time, and kind of compare, you know, offers that they get. I mean, it's up to you. I just solely worked with Corvia after I met my recruiter, and, you know, I contacted all the other places that I was going, that I was accepted in, you know, let them know that I was going to work with them. So yeah, gathering documents definitely takes up most time. If you're just, basically it's like a whole like waiting game going on the whole time. The most important documents that you're going to need, I think, are, well, the most important documents you're going to need when you're first applying to these places, you're going to need a resume. So go ahead and build your resume first before you even start applying to recruiters and stuff, because the recruiters typically, I feel like they typically want a resume and a picture, a photo of you. So you'll need those 2 things before you even begin anything. So, but once you're in with the recruiter, you talk to them and you guys figure out where you want to work. Do you want to work in a Hagwon, which is like a private like academy after school thing, or do you want to work in a public school? You know, figure out what program's going to be figure out what program works best for you. Certain programs require certain things, like Hagwons, for example. I believe some Hagwons, they will allow you to teach without having any type of teaching credential whatsoever. As long as you just have a bachelor's degree, they might accept you. But, you know, to work in public schools or to work with GEPIC or EPIC, you're going to need much more than that. And the applications for those are long, and they require like an essay and a lesson plan and all that jazz. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about right now. Sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. What am I talking about? I'm talking about gathering documents. Okay, so before you do anything, you're gonna want to make a resume and get yourself a professional photo. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go out and get it made, but just like, I just took my picture on a white, my walls aren't even white, they're like off-white. I just put my tripod up, put the camera, no, I had my sister take the picture for me. That's what it was. Again, just a plain wall, kind of off-white wall with some nice professional attire on. And then I used some website to like shrink it down to the passport size photo, and I just screenshotted that or cropped it or whatever, and I took that photo and just used that as my photo that I submitted with my resume. Okay, you're gonna need a passport. If you don't have one of those, I would start looking into getting that done. And you're going to need some programs, depending on the program that you're going to apply to. Some programs like EPIC and GEPIC, they require 2 letters of recommendation. So you're gonna need 2 letters of recommendation. You just start figuring out, okay, who can write me a letter? They prefer like people like professional recommendation letters. So maybe from like a professor or someone who's worked with you. If you're like me, I got my recommendation letter from my mentor teacher when I was student teaching. So I got one recommendation letter from him, and then I got a recommendation letter from a professor of mine from university. So you're gonna need letters of recommendations, passport, resume. I have a list of stuff, so I didn't forget anything. You're gonna need sealed transcripts. Most of them that I've seen have required 2 sealed transcripts. I ordered like 6 just in case. So you need some sealed transcripts, and I would say the most 2 like super important documents that might take some time, right? It's gonna be your diploma. So you're gonna need your diploma, and you're gonna have to get that apostilled. Some places want the actual copy of the diploma. They want that sent to them, but some places, I feel like majority of programs want just an apostilled copy of your diploma. And then you're gonna need an FBI background check. And this right here, the FBI background check is what takes the most time. Like literally, I submitted my background check to the FBI. Sorry, I'm getting all like heated because I'm annoyed about it. But I submitted my FBI background check October 17th. That is the day that they received it. It is January 30th, right? It's right now, January 30th. I still have not received my background check back from them. I ended up having to go through a channeler, and I had to pay a lot more money to get it done that way, and I got it back in 2 weeks. So the background check, if you want to go the not expensive way, you definitely need to get that started as early as possible. I believe that your background, I think the fingerprints can't be any more than 6 months old, so 6 months out is the earliest I think you would be able to start, before they would, I guess 6 months before the start date of your contract or something. I don't know. Anyway, don't get it done too early where it's no good anymore, where it's no longer valid because you got it done way too early. But definitely, okay, I'm rambling, oh my gosh, shut up. So the FBI background check definitely takes a long time if you're doing it through the FBI directly, because apparently they had some system changeover during the summer or something that's affected them, so they're like way backed up with fingerprints. So yeah, so getting your documents, start getting your documents, you know, around the same time you start applying to recruiters. So the earlier you get it done, the better, in my opinion. And lastly, I think you need to prepare for interviews. I don't know if people do this or not, but I think preparing for an interview is very important. Prepare for interviews with a recruiter and prepare for interviews with schools. Because most of these recruiters, when you apply to a recruiter, they're going to want to it's kind of a pre-screening. It's not really like a super interview. They ask you a few questions like, why do you want to go to Korea? Why do you want to do teaching? You know, then they start kind of asking what your interests are. Like, you know, where do you want to teach? What kind of school do you want to work with? What age level? Those kind of things. And usually, if you're working with a recruiter, you'll do kind of a pre-screening with them. They'll determine if they want you in their company or not. And then they usually find you a school and you have an interview, a Skype interview with a school. And so that's going to be where you decide, where you and your interviewer decide if you're going to get that job or not. So my kind of brief interview tips are just kind of Google questions, common ESL teaching questions, interview questions, something like that, and just make a list of things. Lists can be your friend. Writing things down is very helpful. Just figure out what the common themes are. I felt like the most common themes of these teacher questions are like, you know, your education philosophy. Why do you want to teach in Korea? Or why teaching? Thoughts about cultural differences, classroom managements and experiences, maybe weaknesses and strengths and personal goals you have. So I literally wrote down my ideas, wrote down my thoughts. So I listed them and I wrote down what I thought. And I just always looked over it so that my ideas were always in my head. And it's really easy if you're having a phone interview. You can just have your notes in front of you, and you can refer to that just in case, you know, you get nervous and things slip your mind, you don't know what to say. At least you got it written down somewhere. So I would highly recommend finding, you know, common questions or common themes, and think about these things beforehand and write them down. Write your thoughts down, write your beliefs down, and just look over them. And that way you can feel more prepared when it comes to interview time. So yeah, I feel like this is going to be a mess of a video to edit because I feel like I was just all over the place. But those are my tips. In short, first, decide where you want to work. If you want to work in Korea, great. Find a recruiter. But before you even find a recruiter, start working on your resume. Start getting your credentials that you need. And once you do that, then start applying to recruiters and start gathering your documents, especially this FBI background check, because you're going to have to get that background check back from them, and then you're going to have to send it back to DC to get authenticated again. So like I said, these documents is what really takes the most time. So start your documents as soon as you can. Once you decide, I don't know, I would go to Korea, and you can start working with a recruiter to start working on documents well in advance. I cannot stress that enough. Gather your documents and prepare yourself for interviews. Prepare yourself for interviews. That's the most important part. If you don't interview well, then I can't promise you'll get a job. So yes, those are my tips. So if you guys would like me to, I can make a separate video about documents alone. If you guys want, say yay. If not, say nay. Don't matter. I'm here for you. So you tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it for you. I even might make a video about interviews if you want me to. Like I said, tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it for you. Okay? Anyway, I hope y'all having a beautiful day, and I love you a ton, and thank you for always being amazing. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I'm about to go to Korea in less than a month, and hey, ooh, weird hand things, okay? Bye.